Hey guys, welcome back as we continue to build the DR650. So today I pulled the front forks, so they're sitting up there. We're getting ready to put the Cogent front end in. I'm hopefully going to the local shop this week to put them in, so that should be coming soon. So in this episode, I'm going to take you through a few of the easier parts that I've put on the bike, a little bit of core maintenance to the main structure of the bike, and then we'll get into the Warp9 Starter Cap at the end. I'll show you how I do the installation on that, so you can be a little bit more familiar when you reference Warp9's instructions if you decide to do it yourself. So let's get into some of the more basic parts that we've done, bring you up to speed. And if you're interested in the Warp9 Starter Cap, watch through to the end and I'll take you through that. Okay, so the first thing I did today was I redid the main loom. So the main loom was fraying apart because the electrical tape was letting go, as electrical tape does. So I've redone the entire loom for the coil, the ignition, the horn, and then the loom all the way from the midpoint of the frame up to inside the headlight area with Tessa tape. So I mentioned Tessa tape before. It's kind of like that BMW loom tape. It's a cloth tape. It adheres to itself very well, but it won't come apart like electrical tape does over time. So I use them together. We just did the video on the rear lighting install, and I've gone through and done electrical tape on all of the connections to make them waterproof. And then I do the Tessa tape over top. So they work really well as a team. So continuing with our looms, I've loomed the entire wiring setup that we saw in the last video for the tail lighting. So I've done Tessa tape and electrical tape where needed, but Tessa tape on the entirety of the loom. So there's a few wires still out that I need to just make sure are in place as I build up the tail. I need to tape up the tail still, but I have everything in here. The brake modulator is here. You want to make sure that the grommet goes downward, and then I need to put the signal relay in still, but it's almost good to go. I won't fasten anything down as mentioned in the last video until I have the whole tail done, the signals installed in the rear rack, and we're good to go. Then I'll finish things up, but it's getting really close. When it comes to the tail section, so I'm starting to get the luggage looked after. So I have X-frame panniers from Outback Motortech, as well as the Bush Pig Performance rear luggage rack. And these two are fitting together extremely well. I'm going to show it in probably the next video, which will be the luggage rack system and how everything's gone, but this will be a bit of a sneak peek. And these two companies and the way they mount work perfectly, but I'll get into that in the next video. I have one piece that I had to weld for one of the attachment points. So it's outside with primer on it now. I need to put a finish coat on it, bring it in, and then I can do that video. So I need another day or two of paint and curing time, and then we'll bring it back in and we can check that out. So on the left-hand side, first I'll start with the Bush Pig Performance peg mounts. So these are a lower mount, and then they delete the ISO as well, which I didn't want. It has the IMS Pro Series pegs. Use these on the last build. I love these. I do end up taking a grinder and grinding the tips off these, so they end up just being more like nubs. The outside portion is raised a few mils as well. These three here, I do them flat. I don't need these to be razor sharp, but I'll do those later. I may get into it in the video. And then the pedal from Warp9 I've run before. It's a solid pedal. I usually will end up taking a second one with me just in my tool bag, just in case one's to break, but it's pretty bling. Do you need to replace your stock one? Probably not, but I like this. The front portion can get a little bit cheese gratery on your boots. So in the past, I've run just like a shrink wrap, like the thicker wall shrink wrap, just over this. It doesn't wear, and then it doesn't wear out your boots. It still gives a good feel. So it might be an option that I do on this one as well. When it comes to rubber, I'm going to probably run these K60s. They're almost like brand new. It's a tire that I trust. I've run it once before on a bigger bike. Normally, I stick with MotoZ and go with their Tractionator Adventure or their GPS. I like both of them. I'd probably go with the Tractionator Adventure on the DR again. I was really happy with it. I'm just having trouble not running these almost new K60s. So it's not picking the K60 over the Tractionator. It's just, it kind of doesn't make sense. But I really want to do the Tractionator. Where was Gondor when the Westfold fell? The last mod that I did was the header mod. So the header mod has you take excess weld that's in the header on most of the bikes and you end up grinding it out. So you don't do it enough that it actually impacts on the weld. You're just taking a lot of the excess out of here. I've never done it before. I've read a fair bit on it. People seem to say it helps. In theory, it makes sense that not having all of that weld in there to cause restriction or turbulent air might help with the bike flowing a bit better. So I took a fair bit out. Again, didn't impact the core of the weld, so it'll still be strong. And I tapered the grind in a bit. So I don't know that I'll be able to pick this as being something that ended up being noticeable, but it seems to make sense in theory. So I gave it a shot. And last but not least, let's get into the Warp9 Starter Cap. So first thing you're going to have to do that will make it a lot easier is remove your oil feed lines. So 2 banjos, one up here and here. They're crush washers. I cap the ports, just make sure nothing gets in them. When it comes to the clutch arm, make sure to mark it with black marker or something that can show you the correct orientation on the spline. Pop off the 10 mil bolt. I use just a flathead and gently pry it up so that you're not really torquing it. It'll come off. I've got the clutch lever already disassembled at the top because we're doing the handlebars with the build. So oil lines are off. Clutch arm is off. So make sure that you're safe electrically. Remove the battery if you want to. It's such an easy battery to get out. Pull the cap back. Pretty easy to get at. So with those all gone, it's really easy to get at now. What you'll find, I already have it off, is the guide for the clutch cable. Sits here. It's the black guide. There's only 2 8s on it. I think it's the only 8s here. So take both of these bolts out. Okay, so let's get into where a lot of people run into trouble. So this is where I think in the instructions they typically say that you need to set it. I don't want to get into that. I never have. So I'm going to pull off these long shaft bolts, and that's going to enable us to pull the starter. We have to do it anyways to replace the cap. So we have the 2 8 mils out. This long one down here is the one that causes people issue because it's so long. Even if you got a wrench on it down through here, you can't pull it out. So you just leave the starter with both those bolts in. It'll actually pull out. You might have to wiggle it a bit. And when you do that, that's going to let you lift it. And then you can actually get a socket in there. I've already loosened it, but I'll just do it by hand. Okay, and that's going to now allow you to pull it out. Now we can do the top one or the left one. So you'll have to lift the back. Now that we've pulled it out, it will have dropped down. And we're going to want to lift it back into the hole it goes into. And then you'll feel it seat. So I just push, you'll hear it click and seat. If it's not, back it back out and try again. It will seat nicely into there. And now is where you want to be careful. So the starter shaft is just behind here. That's what goes into this bearing. And then on there are washers that you don't want to mess up. So when you pull this off, just take care, try to not jostle it or anything. And you'll have to give it a bit of a tug. I push on the post and then pull on the 2 sides like wings and pull straight back. And then it'll come off. Now what you want to do is you want to bring it toward you and then start to rotate it like this. Move the oil line out of the way. And with the oil line out of the way, it should come out nice and easy. Just try not to touch anything on that shaft. So down here are the washers. Don't mess with them. There's also magnets on there. Just try to stay as well away from there as possible. So again, showing it going back in and reverse. I'm going to rotate back and in like you can read it, rotate. Now it's in there, back, up and in. So it comes off pretty easy. Forward, left to the top. Comes out nice. Okay, so check around. If you're gonna drop something, it's gonna fall down here. That's all done. There is a locator on here. So you wanna make sure that that locator mates up with the locator on the starter. And if you don't know where the locator is, so if you pivot it to the right, so the post goes to the right, you end up seeing it right here, just above the yellow. That's it there. So that tab and this need to align, which means the post will sit forward. And I should show you the difference in the locating tabs based on the stock. So there's the Warp9 one. There's the stock one. So you can see it's a fair bit off. It's over here on the right-hand side if you haven't seen it. And in terms of positioning, so what that would do is this is going to be the opposite because it's flipped, but this is essentially where this bolt hole is. So when this is down, you can see that this is the tab again behind the yellow. It would be naturally about there. When it comes to the Warp9 cap, it's here, which is basically in line with the W. So there's the W. So if we drew a line from the center, so with that being vertical, this is going to have to come up. We're about 11 o'clock. So we can set that. You can see with the pole how far back that ends up, or sorry, how far forward that ends up sitting. There's a gasket. You'll notice that it's come loose here. Make sure that's seated. And then the Warp9 will go in the same way. So we're going to turn it to the right, fish it back and in. Moving those oil lines helps. The flatter it is, the easier it goes in. So again, the W, this post. And you can feel it's in. So if you give it pressure, move the post back and forth, it doesn't allow it to rotate. So now that that's back in, let's go in reverse order. So we're going to put in the easy long bolt to hold the two caps. That's going to stop the Warp9 one from coming off that locator. So we'll start with that. Just hand tighten it. We want to make sure that gasket gets equal pressure from the two bolts. So next, remember we have to pull it all the way out. And then that's going to allow us to angle to get the lower one in. Okay, so with that done, let's put it back in. So the back needs to come up and we'll go in that hole. It will seat nicely. So push, you'll feel it just click nicely. Like that's how it should go. So we can see that the post here for power is substantially far forward. That's to be expected. Okay, and then we have to put the clutch guide back on this bracket. Okay, with the bracket back on, we can fish our clutch line through and in. And seat it. Then we'll reference our spline position, which we did with the marker. So we're going to line it up with the mark that's on there. Putting in your banjo bolts with your oil feed lines. I don't have the crush washers right now. I need to go to my local shop and get the correct ones. So I'm not going to install that right now. And the lead. So usually this is relatively too tight to reach to the front. Remember, we rotated it forward because of the new locator on the Warp9 cap. So we want some excess here. There should be a good amount looped back here at your main fuse. So just pull a bit of it through. So typically this will sit in a position like this, where you can see the crimp at the top. I flip it so the crimp is down, and then I just rotate it through the wire a bit. And it just seems a little bit nicer to fit. And we'll throw our 10 mil on there. And then replace the cap. Double check that you have enough both back at the fuse block as well as in here. If you have way too much here, maybe give a bit back. And then you should be good to go. So thanks for following along on this one. I'm going to try to limit the videos to one of my installations per video to keep them shorter, and then do a few smaller upgrades at the beginning. So we'll wrap this up here. I have more things to come soon, and thanks for following along.